Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday at Two Lines. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. Pretty excited. You guys know a few weeks ago, I went to the Gilmore Car Museum. And first off, if you've never been there, it is worth the trip to Hickory Corners, Michigan, which is in between Battle Creek and Kalamazoo. Up on, it was right off of a lake. I'm trying to remember what the name of the lake was. Anyway, beautiful place, wonderful museum. If you are a car person and you love cars and you find yourself in Michigan, you have to stop there. They have just shy of 400 cars in their collection. And that day that we were doing the race, there was a Mopar car show that it was just phenomenal. So. But yeah, I got to commentate. I did a live stream. A lot of you have had a chance to catch that. And tonight we've got the guys from Team Maple Syrup who are our winners. And so we'll bring them on here in just a second. But just wanted to talk a little bit about the weekend. It was fantastic. So this was a race at the Gilmore Car Museum. It was sponsored by Professor Motor. Oliver and Phil, they did an amazing job putting the venue together, and the race day was a blast. The track was great. Right in the middle of the track, if you've seen it, was a prototype GT40. That's part of the collection of the museum. There was a beautiful Ferrari behind us, a Z28, Camaro 68 or 69, and then there were just a lot of beautiful cars, and it was a great place. But the race was sponsored by NSR. So we were running NSR cars, the GT cars, and it was a 3-hour endurance race on Carrera / Scale Auto track. So all the digital pieces were Carrera, but everything else was Scale Auto track. So it was an interesting track, interesting setup, had a big long straight, and a lot of guys struggled with it if you saw the video. So, but without further ado, we're going to bring the guys on from Team Maple Syrup and guest base. Where we at? There we are. Guys, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys.
That day on Saturday after we were done, we were taking pictures of the winners, and I was like, okay, when are you guys going to jump on the live stream? We got to talk about this. So introduce yourselves. So some of you guys have been in the chat most Tuesdays, but maybe they not seen your face. So introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your channels and what you do. Because Warren, you have a channel and you have a store. So give us a little bit of insight.
Yep. Hi. Thanks for having us on, Marty.
Yeah.
I'm Warren Scott, lighttechslots.ca, and I have a store and I have tracks here, and we're starting a club and getting the guys into the hobby, and providing a place for guys to come in, tune their cars, race the cars. I've got that's basically it, and then lots of interest, and then just basically growing it. I started on 2 years ago. I was on. Do you remember with Raul?
Yeah.
And when Dave Kennedy was still on, that I came on and I said I was going to do it, and then that's when it started.
Yeah, basically. That's awesome.
I started working then at that point, but yeah, that's me. So I have a YouTube channel, and then a Facebook, and then obviously a website.
Yeah.
So.
Light Tech Slots is your YouTube channel, Warren? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There you go.
Don't forget.
Yeah, that's all it is. Light Tech Slots on YouTube. I do the 3-minute Thursdays. So.
Right.
Yeah, and Warren is great at, not only does he have a shop and a website and a YouTube channel, Warren is the best at this point for finding the things that you cannot find. Be careful what you ask Warren, it'll show up at your door the next day. He's like, remember that thing you said 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I got it. I just shipped it to you. Oh, okay. Warren is amazing at that, guys. Just letting you know.
Yep.
Talking from experience.
Great. Joe likes to challenge me. He's like, yeah. You find me this car? Oh, you mean that one has been out of circulation for how long?
That's right.
But you find them. So
yeah, I do.
So Warren, did you help Slot R find his big find that he's been looking for 2 years?
No,
No.
I didn't. No,
Okay.
no.
All right. So Joe, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First time guest, long time listener. Uh, I'm Joe. I have a YouTube channel, Herrera's Carrera. You may or may not have seen it. I race every Monday nights. I go live with my lovely, darling wife, and we race. We banter. We banter some more. This is a bit more bantering, and then we finally finish the race. I usually, need a ref count on that, and that's it. I have a few YouTube channels. Started this, what, it's been 2 years now, two maybe, I have no idea. And I thought I knew what I didn't know about stock cars, and it was just downhill from there, rabbit hole. Loving this hobby ever since, and I'm trying to put out content that is entertaining as much as it is informative. But there's so much great content out there. And Marty, I have to thank you always for keeping it going with this Tuesday night. You're a real pillar of the community and great inspiration to all of us. So I want to thank you for having us on. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about the weekend.
sure.
What was your expectation? So you guys put together a team, and we're gonna give MP a little bit of a hard time. Massimo was on your team, but he had to work. He couldn't break away, so we missed him. MP, if you see this, buddy, I was excited about getting to meet you. So maybe that'll happen one day, man. But
I think that
we
was the
missed you being
second
there.
most question asked of me was like, "Oh, hey, you're Joe. Yeah, great. Where's MP?" Oh, yeah. So then after it was, I had to just tell the truth. And MP, I know he couldn't get away. He had a lot of modeling gigs. So
Mhm. Yeah.
GQ, whatever. Who's calling Boss Hugo? Tag Heuer was calling
Puma.
him up. Puma,
Puma.
Puma was a big one. So guys, priorities, right?
Hey, and guess who came in? We have
On your partner.
Armando.
No, I'm not
It's Phil.
Mando.
It's
I'm
Phil.
It's
I'm giving Mando another
Phil.
computer. He has a MacBook and it's not connecting. So hang on for a sec.
All right.
okay.
Not running sucks.
Phil is helping Armando. Hey, Armando.
Hey, Phil. Thanks. How you doing,
or,
Armando?
or as he's better known, the new MP.
P.
Yeah, you got it.
What's up, brother? Welcome.
How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for joining us.
Dude.
Good.
So we were
bet.
just getting into the weekend. Tell us a little bit about. We'll let Joe or Warren go first, so you don't feel like you're put on the spot. But what was your expectations going into the weekend? I guess is what the question is. Joe, what do you think?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. This was my first, real or more serious competition, competing with people that I've never met before. When Warren asked and said, "Hey, there's a 3 hour, invite, come on the team." I'm like, yeah, sure, right, and like, where is this? 5 hours away, and then 13, 5 to you, then 30. I'm like,
For
yeah,
him.
we'll see. And I didn't know what to expect, but at the same time, as Warren and speaking to Oliver, I got to know a bit more about it. I was like, oh, it's on a digital track. Okay, that I'm more comfortable with that. That's not that's not the analog racers like at Ernie's place. So slowly, I was like, okay, we're doing a digital race, 6 cars, and I started getting more excited about it. And so I wasn't really sure what was going on, but the more information we got, we're using Smart Race, 6 drivers, bring your own controllers. I'm like, okay, now we're talking my language of what we're used to, right? Us Carrera guys.
Right.
So it was more. I got like my nerves relaxed a little, before we got there, but just getting to the venue was fantastic. I mean, the nerves just shot right back up when I saw all the public that was there walking around, and I'm like, I thought this was a private event. I'm like, all these people are going to watch us race. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was something. It was definitely an experience.
Sure.
Definitely a great experience. Warren, you can go.
Is that me or Joe?
Yeah, Warren. What was your expectation going into the weekend, Warren?
I think Warren froze.
Oh, he just froze.
Uh-oh.
Classic Warren.
Classic Warren.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, you did.
You get back.
You should be back.
There he is.
So Warren, what was your expectation for the weekend?
Go there, learn from. Um, I was going to learn. I was going to, we're going to race and learn. I've raced digital. That's what we race here. So I was I was I was happy with that experience. But what I was nervous about was racing with the NSR car now chipped, and then going to compete at that level, because I didn't want to come last. that was my expectation. I didn't want to not want to come last. I was like second last. That's it's better than last. So that I didn't I just wanted to go and have a good showing and just meet everybody. It was to go there, support Oliver and the guys at the Gilmore, Phil. They do a fantastic
Oh
job,
yeah,
and that was basically it. I did a lot of trial and error with the cars. I sent Joe and Massimo each a car, and then I chipped two cars here, and then we tried out the chassis, and then we talked to a lot of people. Well, there was it was basically gathering information from one of the people was Niku. I talked to Niku. I talked to Sean Casey, because he's always tuning and dialing in his cars. Watched a lot of the Spinning Pinion. Went through it with Jim Love. Went through everybody. We were sending the links back and forth. It was like, oh, look how they set this car up. Look how they set the braids up. Look how they set, And it was basically learning from the community and taking all that input and putting it into the car. Taking on their experience and their wins, looking at what they've done, and set the car up basically using that as the guide for it, and then practice, lots of practice. The one car I ran at 12 hours just to see what might break or what could become an issue, and that was the braid, not the braid, the motor wire came off my shoulder at some point, but that one I had the chip upside down inside of the car in the underneath on the dashboard, so the wires were coming down onto the chassis, because I wanted the pod to move freely. I didn't want the chip to impede the pod. So that was one of the experiments that we did.
yeah.
We were playing with it.
Well, I mean, I think before we went live, Warren and I were talking about that maybe your car wasn't the fastest car.
Absolutely not
in the group, but you guys did a nice job of keeping it in the slot, and that was what was important for this digital race. I think that's probably maybe a little different than running analog. When you got cars, there are a lot more offs because you have cars in the same lane. You have collisions. You have it made for an interesting race, really.
Yeah.
So
that hairpin. The hairpin, every time I came down the straight towards that hairpin, I'd go to the inside. Everyone was going to the outside, and then they would end up piling up in the corner, and then just drive around them. It became part of the strategy, and then the rest was us communicating with Armando, with Joe, on our pit stop strategy. Yeah. So we found a sweet spot, and it was 24%. At 24%, because of the length of the track, it gave us two opportunities to fuel. So if we fueled at 24, and we missed it, by the time we came around, we would then be at I think it was 11. And if we missed that one, we'd come around, we'd still have 3%. So we never went empty. We had two opportunities to pit, or three.
Yeah. I think that happened to me once, where I looked up and it was like flashing red, and I had the thinnest line, and I'm like, oh, I can't miss this one. I think it happened only once. But other than that, the communication between Armando, yourself, was perfect. Except for that one moment where I was doing a stint, and I'm like, I look up and I see Armando in the corner. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, I need someone to yell, to communicate what's going on. I look over, and Warren's doing the interview, and I'm like, of course. Wonderful.
He gave me hell for that.
On the way home. Hey, well,
He
he
was like,
yelled
"I
at
almost
me.
ran out of gas.
He's
You were
like,
being
"How can you
interviewed
be
by Nardi."
interviewing my teammate? I need him."
Yeah, I was so mad. It was just funny. I'm like, okay. But no, but
Just
Oliver had a good layout with the screen. So when you had that straight, that was your opportunity to look up, and adapting to the track. That was definitely an experience,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it was. I'm not sure how the analog guys do it when you're all looking at your track and you all switch over one. But definitely for me, one of those experiences was definitely adapting to the surroundings and understanding, because you get into such a tunnel vision, right? And then you have to break that tunnel vision and look up, and then find your car, figure out, and get into that rhythm of like, okay, well, when the car is here, I can look up, do a a stat check, and then make sure that after a while you figure out, because you're right, we were not the fastest, so it was important to
Mhm.
make sure that um, I was not letting go of sight of the car when there was a switch lane, because I did not want anyone to switch into me and for me not to be able to react. So that was fun and exciting. So I really think Oliver did a great job of that track and where he placed the switch tracks, in my opinion. And we'll get into that. I got some notes. I want to
yeah,
share some stuff. I'd like to hear from Armando to think,
yeah.
Yes,
what his thoughts of all
sure.
He
this were,
he
because
was
I
a
kind
he
of
was a last second addition to Team Maple Syrup. So how did that all
Yes.
yeah.
happen?
And I think I just got up in his face and like, hey, you're gonna race for us, perfect. This is our strategy. This is what we're gonna do. This is how the car reacts. 2 minutes. Go practice, and good luck.
Yeah,
Yeah. Here's your
That's
car. This is
right.
the car.
So I won't do that now, Armando. Please,
yeah. Armando, where
Sure,
are you
I'll share.
from?
I'm here in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, in Grand Rapids.
This
Okay.
is where I reside. But originally, my family is from the Dominican Republic,
Oh,
but I was born in New York. A lot of
okay,
mixes there.
gotcha. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, well, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us. So
You
so
bet.
how did you end up on this team with these two hoodlums?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was at Gilmore with Phil and the Rerun guys. Shout
Okay,
out to Rerun
that's
Racers.
right.
Um, and Oliver. Shout out to Oliver and Professor Motors.
Yes.
So I was helping out with setting up. I was setting the smaller Carrera digital track, and I heard about the maple syrup. We're short one guy, and there was discussion on who's going to help him out. And Joe came up to me and like, "Hey, will you be able to join us?" I'm like, "Absolutely, more than happy to help you out."
That's awesome.
So I joined in and saw the track. The track was something else because I never. This was my first time an endurance race on digital. And
Okay.
then I heard that there was no magnet. And then I heard there was these NSR cars. And I'm like, oh my God. But I was used to digital already. So that was a good thing. And I was used to Carrera. And that was another great thing in digital and all that. So at least I was familiar with a lot of it. But yeah, it was a little intimidating at first because a 3 hour race, I've done smaller races before
Yeah.
with friends and
Mhm.
whatnot. But this type of race was a little more intimidating. But hey, we came out on top.
There you go.
you did not show that at
That's
all,
right.
That's right.
and
You were very
I
calm on
just
the
want to
driver's stand.
Mhm.
absolutely, and
That's right.
your communication to me was great, because at one point I'm like, who's yelling? Oh, perfect, Armando. Okay, great. Now I recognize your voice, and that was it. It was your voice and Warren's voice. Those were the only two that I was like tuning into, and I think you did a fantastic job. And I just want to apologize again, because I misunderstood in the beginning. I thought you were actually racing for Rerun. So in my head, I ended up doing a double stint. One, because I was in the zone, and I felt like doing it. But two, I wanted to give you the opportunity to rest, because I'm like, I don't think it's fair to put that pressure on someone else to race for two teams at the same time. Like there's a lot of just I don't know about mental stress, but just like, if something
Yeah.
goes wrong, do you think we're gonna get mad? To purposely sabotage or not, or if you do well and then the other team's going to give you a hard time. So I was stressing out about that, and only at the end you were like, no, I'm racing with you guys, I'm not racing for another team. And I'm like, oh, this whole time I'm
This
like,
whole
okay, so
time.
you're going to do the last stint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing to it. I mean, you were in the zone at the time. I'm like, go do it.
Mhm.
Go right into it because you were just going. I'm like, go right into it.
I was literally just having fun, guys.
Yeah,
Honestly, it
that's
was.
the whole
It
point, right? We're all
it
having a blast. We're having a great time.
it was a fun race. I mean, from my standpoint, I was doing the commentary and trying to manage that whole thing. and there were some hiccups early on. I think running a digital race, I think everybody there and learned a lot, and like, which makes me excited for next year, which means like just how much more smooth the race will go. Just because
Right.
everybody learned. I learned stuff from the live stream standpoint. Oliver, I'm sure Phil learned something with the venue, and I just, it was a beautiful venue. And one of the things that I loved about the weekend during the race was all the spectators that we had. There were a lot of people from the car show coming in and watching the race, and there were people that stood there for not just a couple minutes, stood up there for half an hour, 45 minutes watching, this race go on, and it was pretty cool to see. So
It was a very nice building, and
yeah,
seeing people come in and out and ask questions too, because there were people asking questions.
yeah,
Like, look at the great track, and look at them, they're racing.
yeah.
It was really fun.
And thank goodness for that wind. Thank goodness for that crosswind, because
Oh yeah, because it was really hot and
it was
humid,
very,
let me
very
tell
warm.
you.
Sure
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, thank God the doors were
That's-
open.
that-
and we
Yeah,
had
that wouldn't
wind.
save the day. Otherwise, I think we would have had more people falling over.
I think the one thing that did do is it kept a pretty dirty track most of the race, though, with that wind and breeze, and who knows what kind of debris was blowing in on it.
pieces of apple, maybe.
There was, but
Let me tell you though, towards the end,
Beautiful.
I was getting a little scared because Phil was getting up on us, and then when that braid came off, I'm like, oh no! But
yeah,
hey, Warren came through, he fixed it, and we ended up winning. So
yeah,
pretty
that's a
think
good point.
That's the fastest I've ever changed a braid in my life. Honestly, I was like a
you were
new
shaking
record.
a little bit, like, oh no!
Oh, yeah. I was just like zoned in right into that. That was it. That was my focus. The braid. It was like the sing. This is the braid. I'm gonna show it to you because it's.
Well, you kept it.
I got it.
There it
Yeah,
is.
I kept it.
Yeah, one of the marshals just had it. He had his hand up, and I'm like,
Yeah,
thank you. I'll just take that.
But it's frayed. It's really frayed. Fuck, focus. It's toast. It was really bad. The
Well, I was just
The
worried
other-
because when you opened the car, we had said that, hey, are we going to hot glue this down? And then in my head, I was like, no, we have to pull out all this hot glue now to put it back in, but we didn't. That was the other car. So like my heart dropped at that moment, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm like, Warren, you can do this. He's like, I need this. He's like, scalpel, toothpick, this, that. I'm like, here, fix it.
Like having surgery.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you have to deal with in an endurance race, is the potential of the car breaking down, something happening, and that's really a big issue with a digital endurance race because you have to worry about every other car on the track. There were a lot of collisions, a lot of damage. I mean, for about 20 minutes, you guys drug your rear bumper around on that car.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was on. I had Armando yelling out at me. He's like, hey, you're dragging something, and I'm like, I'm not feeling anything too different. I am slowing down, and I'm like, okay, I got 2 more laps. Let me do my 2 laps, and then I'm going to pull into the pit because the car was still responding pretty well. But I believe I had Warren and Armando yelling at me saying, hey, you're dragging something. And I'm like, it'll come loose. I go into the pit, and then there's John Erdman. He's talking with somebody. He sees my car. He picks it up, and he just starts twisting something black, pops it off, puts the car back down, continues
He
talking.
pulled it off.
And I'm like, okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
So thank you. He was just like, yeah, here you go. You're fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
You have that piece, Warren? You still have it?
Yeah. It's
There
right
you
there.
go.
Oh, he has that too. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the car took a
That's
beating.
off the
Car
back
took
of the car.
Yeah.
Everybody's
And
car
if-
took a beating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Was it
that
just
car,
yours?
Yeah,
along
well,
with someone else's car, hit the floor. Fell off the table. So,
Yeah, Bryce says you guys crushed the pit stop. I was going to mention that. I felt like the first couple of stints, that's when you guys were sitting in like 3rd or 4th place, and that first group were really struggling with the pit stops, and you went from like 3rd or 4th place to 1st place over a period of about 10 or 20 laps because people were running out of gas and they didn't realize that they did not score laps when they're on empty. And you guys
Yeah.
from the
Mhm.
beginning, we had talked about it beforehand. Is like you really need to communicate about pit stop because the screen was going to be a little tough to read from the driver's stand because of glare, and you did
Yeah.
not want to miss that because if you lose a lap, you lost a lap, and then you have to come clear back around to get fuel.
But
And
I could understand because you get that tunnel vision. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that was one thing I really took away from that. And you get into the zone, and then you look up, and you're like, oh, and I know to look up because I'm just used to the digital. So naturally, you want to come up for air, and you look, and you're like, oh, I literally have one lap left, or else I'm out of gas. Like you forget. You don't. You're just
Mhm.
really focused on the race. So I
I
could
think
understand
also
how
as
the
a
guys are
team,
doing
we
that.
did a great job communicating with each other. Like, hey,
We did
time
Mhm.
to pit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
absolutely.
we talked a little bit. So Joe and Warren and I met for dinner on Friday night, and fantastic evening. Joe, thanks for that. I'm glad you guys were able to
Thank you.
put that together.
Mhm.
But we talked a little bit about strategy at across the table that night, and that I talked about the guys, the Spirit of America team, and their strategy, and Team Grizzly, what their strategy was for the Michigan 24, and they basically said we didn't have to be the fastest car on the track. We just had to be the
Mhm.
car on the track. And you guys really took
right.
that to heart. It's like, stay in the slot, keep it in the slot. That was important. And all of a sudden, you guys were up, 20, 25 laps on the field halfway through the race. You were in a great position. And
Yeah.
then you had to deal with a broken, something broke on the car and you had to fix it. And so a good thing you had that
That
build up,
cushion.
that lead, that cushion, right? So
Yeah.
that's important. People don't really think about the strategy that goes into it, but
Yeah.
it really was an
Yeah.
important thing for you guys that day.
Yeah. Absolutely. In the that was key, keeping it in the slot. We were the fifth. I looked at the timing afterwards. We were the fifth fastest car. The fastest car had half a second on us. So the
Yeah,
but we were
we
the fifth
were.
fifth fifth fastest.
But
And then and
they
then
really
when we
struggled. They
finished,
really struggled with that hairpin.
yeah,
They were out
Yeah,
most
I
laps.
think the braking
yeah,
was really key to that long straight. And
Yeah, breaking
I don't know,
early.
Warren,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you want to get into it, but
What break? I was well. I would brake early and I'd go to the inside, and especially if
see, I
there was
hated the
traffic,
inside.
because the guys were piling up
I
when
hated the
when there
inside
were
too.
with traffic.
yeah.
The
I
car,
hated the inside.
yeah, the car held together. It really. The other thing that we did differently to everybody else is we went with the green, the extra hard. So I don't know if that made a difference in the car's handling, but it was hooking up great. It was driving nicely, and it ran fantastic. So
There was, but that wasn't by fluke, right? I mean, there was literally three things.
yeah, we
Because I walked in, I met, I got to, not that I met Warren before. It's not like our first time meeting, but I was the first time at his shop, and he came in, and Doug Verbiage was there, and we got to hang out. And then Warren's like, okay, hey, we gotta test these cars. And I'm like, okay, show me what you've been working on. I mean, I've been working on my stuff at home, but I don't have what you have. So these are the cars
mhm,
we're gonna enter into the race. And and that green car with that green chassis was not our first pick. Actually, it was, sorry, excuse me, it was our first pick, and the green car was our second. I said, let's do what you've been working on, and the modifications that we're kind of not sure of until we put both cars on the track. And then there was an immediate um, difference between both, and we said, I think we have to go with the green chassis for a few reasons. Um, one, the placement of the chip that Warren worked on, I think was a good choice. How he installed the chip, that was all on Warren. The second thing I noticed, and again, my hats off to Warren for being a great captain,
oh, thank
and
you, Joe.
yeah, no, for sure, for just listening to my, because I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
anything about racing professionally or at an event. So
We lost Armando.
I said, Warren, listen, I go, this car is jittering on the track, the one with the tin braids, and everyone said you have to
mhm,
use the tin braids, thin braids, and I'm
yeah,
like, I don't think this is the way to go. I know these brass braids are slower. The thicker ones are slow. Maybe they're slower and they're
yeah,
not as thin. But for some reason, the car doesn't jitter on the switch tracks. it's like braid meant for 24 scale for switch lanes. And I said that was the one thing I was kind of really not imposing, but saying, hey, listen, let's do that. So chip placement, we agreed on the braids, and then just testing out the chassis, the harder chassis, the green chassis from NSR, for some reason was just giving us faster times. The car felt stronger, more robust, and felt good in the hand. I don't know. It just, so we said, let's just put the green chassis car as our first, as our main entry. And that was really the three things we went on. We kept the gear ratio. The gear ratio was 927.
Yeah.
I was hearing other people talk about putting ratios of 1030, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of smart. You got the higher top end, but their braking was not on point. That car did not give us any issues. People were saying, oh, my car's doing this, my chip's doing this, and it's like, oh, okay. And not that they were complaining, but like talking amongst the pit, and you can hear people saying, okay, we got to fix this, we got to look at that. And I'm like, our car is not giving us any issues whatsoever. I'm not experiencing any of the issues that the other racers may or may not have, brought up. So whatever chip, I'm not even sure what chip were we using.
MPL.
We were actually using MPL chip.
That's interesting because a lot of people were having problems with the MPL chip.
I know.
Which didn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That might be this
what
question. Did you all have capacitors on your motors?
No.
Which could have been a problem, I guess, if you would have put like the capacitor that some of the Carrera and slotted cars come on, you may have not had some interference.
I really think the two issues people might have been struggling with, because some were saying, hey, there's a dead spot here, there's a dead spot here, was the same things Warren and I were experiencing at his shop with the thinner braids. They were not making proper contact when you had the switch lanes, because you have those dead spots. And for some reason, the Carrera, well, I say Carrera, but it's not Carrera, but the thicker braids, the NSR, the standard braids just made a smoother transition. And every time I was racing the car, I'm like, any minute now, this car is going to start giving me trouble.
Yeah.
And it never did.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of focus. I was able to focus on racing and not worrying about the car, except for obviously that bumper issue, which John Erdman took, made quick of, but it was really...
John took care of you.
Yeah.
Jim Rose asked if were the tires open. What tires did you use? There was spec tires, right?
Yeah, they provided them to us, and they were the Extreme Race, but they were foam. The foam rubber, and then I just mic'd the tire that's on the car, and it's at 18 millimeters. It started out at 22.
Okay, so you went through some tire wear.
That's how much tire we went through. Yeah. Well, the guys were saying afterwards that there was marbles in the corners, and I didn't notice it, but they must have been there, because you got 6 cars orbiting around, and they must have been depositing stuff in the corners.
Oh yeah, it was.
Armando, how did you find the car? Because this is your first time. Was this your first NSR?
That was my first NSR. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had it set up when you were explaining the strategy to me. I'm like, perfect, because that's how usually I drive, with the exception of having no magnet. But that was perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thought you settled in pretty good with no magnet.
Did you practice a lot prior to that?
No, with NSR, not at that track at all. No.
Oh wow.
So I only had maybe 2 laps into that track before we started.
Yeah. So you're saying you're a prodigy. Okay, that's good. That's good. He's like, I don't need
exceptional talent. That's right.
I don't need practice. I can. Nah, I'm just kidding. I got this.
Who needs practice? Yeah, well, that was the thing. There wasn't a lot of practice because they were trying to work out some of the gremlins that we were fighting with the track and digital issues, and so they kept shutting the track down. So most people didn't have a lot of laps on that layout. So I figured the first hour, after about the first 45 minutes, that might settle down and people start really laying down some really good lap times, and that's what we saw. That last half of the race, it got better and better, and people were getting better with the layout. So yeah, that's all part of it, though, right?
That was the funny part. it's one of the things I remember now. It just kind of reminded me. So I did my first stint, and I told Warren, I'm like, "Hey, who wants to go first?" He's like, "Well, let's flip a coin." I'm like, "I kind of just want to get it out of the way, because if I do really horrible, then it's up to you guys to catch up. So I just want to just going to get it out of the way, peel the band-aid, if you will." And so I do the first, and it's good, and you find it to the rhythm, and then Oliver's like, "Yeah, so it's just going to go in order. So maple syrup first." I'm like, "I don't not want to be leading this pack. Oh no." I'm like, because I knew it was going to be a disaster in the first corner, and sure enough, because we're all learning the braking and all that stuff. But after I did my 20 minutes and I rotated over to the marshalling, it was funny to see all those guys, all the second wave drivers, have to learn the track again. So it was just funny because I'm like, oh yeah, they're crashing and we're just like marshalling and whatnot. I'm like, but I don't understand. I did 20 minutes and I figured it out. It's like, oh yeah, no, but these drivers have to figure it out now. So that happened: first wave, second wave, third wave, and then there was a really good rhythm with everybody now that they had a better idea of what was going on. So I just found it funny. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to go on for another 40 minutes because everyone's got to learn the track. Everyone's got to have their first shot at the track, right?
Yeah, but after 20 minutes, I think everybody settled down, and that second rotation through everyone really was much better.
Yeah. And I want to thank, I don't remember now, but the team with the green and then the team with the white car, the McLaren in the white and then the green car.
Blue Water?
Was it Blue Water?
Blue Water or
maybe it was
Rerun.
The old guys.
I think Rerun had the
white
McLaren.
car.
Yeah, Rerun was
Rerun
white.
had the white car, because it was fast. And there was a few nice battles, and I appreciated those battles. I lost them all, but they were interesting. Well, lost. I mean, I don't want to, but it was fun to have after a while racing on the track, and and I'm like, okay, there's no one in front of me, there's no one in back of me. Let me just keep these laps going, and then every once in a while you'd catch up to traffic, and then you'd have you'd have the two drivers on your side saying, "Hey, man, you can push through this. Do it. What are you doing? What are you just going to sit back and cruise? No, you're a driver." And the other one's like, "What are you doing? Sit back and cruise because we're ahead. Don't, don't make silly mistakes." Right. I want to say other words, but we're on Marty's left.
That was me at the end. It's like, just stay on the track. Just stay on the track.
Right.
Just keep the pace.
It was
stay
fun
on the track.
Oh, absolutely. But it was fun to start competing with people and getting that digital feeling when you're behind somebody and you're really trying not to bump because you don't want to push anybody off.
No.
Right.
But it was good to see then that person would fight back. So I would pass them and then they would speed up and I'm like, oh, okay, it's on, let's go. And now I'd be like, oh, let's have fun and try not to get off the track. And those were the little moment. It didn't happen often. And I managed to pass two people because with braking late and being able to cut across, I managed to do two successful cutoffs, I guess, or passing, and I was happy with that. I'm like, okay, you did two, stop pushing your luck because it's not going to happen again. And it was just
and did some of those too. And that's the fun part about digital, is that to be able to do that and pass people when you can, it's really fun.
Yeah. And then not crash in the corner. That's like a double. It's so sweet. You pass and you're like, yay, now I have to negotiate this corner. And you do it. And you're like, how did that happen? Thank you so much.
I was able to pull that off.
And for the marshals, it was nice because you just drop. They would put the car back on the track.
Yeah,
boom.
it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Drop him. Doesn't matter what lane he's in. Put him on. In, out, doesn't matter. Put him back on the track.
Yeah, that definitely changes things, right? Yeah. Warren talked about taking the hairpin in the inside, and I thought that was you could carry a lot more speed from the outside if you didn't have other cars with you, but it seemed like most of the time you were hitting that corner with another car. And so by taking the inside, you just brake a little early and you would come out of there clear because there was always a wreck. And Warren did a great job. I don't know how many laps you picked up, Warren. I was trying to keep track on that one stint. I mean, you picked up maybe 5 or 6 laps on the whole field during your stint just because you did that. I was like, great strategy with that corner. Just nice and you'd come into that inside lane. They would crash. You could clear. You never had to wait for that. So it was really good. Kirby asked if that was the first digital endurance race ever, and no, there's been lots of digital endurance races, but this was the first one at the Gilmore, sponsored by Professor Motor, using NSR cars, and it sounds like they're going to try
Carrera track. Yeah,
Carrera and Scale Auto track.
And Scale Auto track, hybrid track. Yeah,
it was a hybrid track.
Those were all firsts.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Oh,
what did you guys think
Warren,
of the track, the layout?
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was nice.
It was a little.
Was nice.
For me, it was interesting because it was only one point where I'm like, man, all the technical stuff is on the other side, so you really had to like judge and focus your curves, and then the straight was in front. But then I really appreciated that because when I needed to look up, I could find the information that I needed. So it was less of like, okay, I'm not so worried. I'm going to crank it down. There's nobody in front of me. That's what I would see. I would turn the corner. I would see if anybody's in my way, and then I would just hit the throttle, then look up, check my stats. Okay, I'm good, and go. So I appreciated it. I appreciated that aspect of it after. I wasn't so like, but obviously when you can see closer, for us guys who are wearing glasses all the time, it would be nice to see the technical parts closer. And then, but other than that, I think the track was great.
I believe it was a version of the Detroit Grand Prix tracks, but it was really fun having such a long straight.
Yeah.
To deal with. But that corner at the end, that was really fun to try to maneuver and manage.
Yeah.
Which lane did you prefer, Armando?
What's that?
Which lane did you prefer? The inside or the outside when you took the first hairpin?
I prefer the outside lane, to tell the truth.
Yeah. So that was.
There were times that you had to manage with the inside lane, but I prefer the outside.
I think it was it an R2 Scale Auto corner?
Yep.
Or was it?
I think so.
R2,
yeah. So that inside's pretty tight on the R2.
It's very tight. Yep.
Yeah.
You have to really slow down and manage well to try to stay on the track.
But Warren and I think Marty as well. You a lot of people were asking why did the hybrid, and it was for that reason, right? It was for the because the Scale Auto was wearing out the tires faster than Carrera track, right? And obviously with the foam tires, you had a bit more grip. So I thought that was really interesting that Oliver wanted to incorporate that, and I think that also had a lot to do with how fast you were going on that track, because at one point, again, the green car, near the end, I could just hear it scraping because its tires were almost finished. Yeah. And our car lasted because we were actually not the fastest. So our tires actually endured the race.
Yeah. And we passed scrutineering. And we passed scrutineering at the end because we had to have still have 2 millimeters underneath the car.
Yeah, we did the hybrid too because we wanted to ensure that we had lane changers throughout the track.
Right.
I think later on, if it makes it a longer race, then you're gonna end up having to pit and change your tires, or change your axle.
Yeah, just like they do in the 24. That. Yeah.
Well, 24 I can understand, but like, wow, like we were so nervous just for that braid. I mean, I guess tires are easier, right? Just one screw on, one screw off. But I'd be like this, like
it's still sure, it's still a pit stop, right? And it's still everybody else is making laps while you're not, because you're working on your car, and so that brings that's part of the endurance racing, right? Yeah. Whether it's analog or digital, you have to deal with car problems and things like that. So Kevin mentions that he learned a lot for his first digital endurance race. I think that was a lot of the people there. Was their first digital endurance race. Yeah. There was a handful of guys. It was the first time they'd ever raced digital. So I thought that was fun aspect of. We just got to see everyone was learning something new, right? Yeah. And I appreciated that about the event. You didn't have like one person that just kind of ran away with it. When we look at the lap counts, the whole field was pretty close at the end. Mm-hmm. Which was really cool.
Yeah, there's 4 laps between first and second. That's how it ended. It was only 4 laps. So it was close.
Yeah, Bryce asks, did you guys notice the wind disturb the cars any at all? Did you think the wind, the breeze had an impact on
I was a bit worried at some point because of the the flapping. I was more worried that the skirts of
We're gonna go
the
over.
tables were going to
The
knock the car
curtains.
off,
Yeah.
the curtains.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
but
were
I
coming
did
right
feel
up.
at
They
one
were. It
point.
was like,
No, well, that's it. And I don't know how you guys in the Straits, when there was that really big gust of wind, I felt the car going slower. Like I could feel there was drag
probably.
on the
It
car.
probably. Yeah, there was probably some resistance there
Yeah. So,
for sure.
but those didn't last long. Those didn't last long. So
Yeah.
it was
Rerun.
interesting. I was just more like, please. I was worried that the car was just going to fly. It's like, oh, bye, bye,
Re-
Dorothy.
Rerun says Easton and I got cheesy faces like we might win when Maple Syrup had to remove their car to fix it. So let's talk about that. You guys had
Yeah.
you came off for how many laps to fix the car? It was in the last heat that you had your issue.
Yeah, we were ahead. I think like by 15 laps or so,
15.
That
around
sounds
there.
Yep, it was around there.
And then we came down. It was close to 5 or so by the time we were done. 3 actually.
got-
Yeah, 3 laps. By the time we got the car back and
Back.
finished the race, it was
And
so
you-
close.
Yeah.
We're like, oh no! But
And
that
then
was
you-
the good thing of having that lead time and the
And
extra laps
you
in
got-
that we were
I-
able to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and Armando, like you were under so much pressure. Like I remember handing the car off to you when we did the driver change, and I said to you, I was like, "All right, we got a good cushion, bring it home," and then that
For that.
happened. And then
And
for
then
you to,
I didn't know that Phil was going to be the last driver. And then I see him next to me, and I'm like, oh my God, the pressure is on now.
The pressure's on.
But,
Then I
but
see
there
the
was no
brake come
way.
off. I'm like, oh no.
Phil was making
But-
laps,
but-
man. He was flying.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was, he was
Yeah.
doing well.
Yes, he was.
And I noticed, right, like at that point, I mean, just to go back, there was no way, because I remember when I asked you, I said, okay, you're going to take the last heat. He's like, you're like me. I'm like, of course, you hardly ran. And at that point, I knew I had figured out that you weren't racing for anybody else. So I'm like, yeah, get in there. You're gonna bring us home. You'll take the last seat, because I didn't feel that it was fair for Warren or I to hog it. And it was like, you're part of the team, so no, you have to put in your time. And I was totally okay with it. It actually took a little stress off me to be like, okay, it's not my responsibility now. The last one, but those guys, they were gunning
they
for
came
you.
hard.
It became a little aggressive. I was doing the pit in the last heat, and I was just like, all I hear was tack, 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 tack. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, these guys, like, guys, stop hitting my car. Leave Armando alone. You had a target on your back, dude. And I'm like, I'm so
You
glad
did.
it's not me.
I was marshaling the corner after the hairpin, and at one point they stopped for something, and the car was in front of me, and I was like, just hold it together. I actually talked to the car. I was like, just hold it together.
D- d- Does any-
We were just, Armando, you were just fantastic. You were running it, so we didn't want to put any more pressure on you or tell you, hey, the guys you were, it was just because we were not racing the race, not the other drivers, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, just keep the car in the track, do not crash, keep it together, and then just run your race, drive.
Yep. That's right. It was lap management at that point. Just manage those laps.
For sure.
Yep. Don't push. Does anybody remember what the total footprint of the track was?
It was 100. I don't think it was more than 150 feet.
Yeah.
Like
50 by
I'd say
22. Is that what you said? 50 by 22.
Yeah, the track
50 by
layout was
22?
50 foot long, 22 foot wide. And what was your lap count? Do you remember?
636.
636.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Originally, but remember they shortened it by a little bit.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, we kind of ran
Yes.
over because we had so many stops early on.
Right.
Track calls.
Yeah.
That
well, it was RF issues, I think, with the so they did the track call, and they shut off because the other track that was a demo track that was in the corner also had a app connect on it,
right,
and wireless controllers. So we eliminated that, and then eliminated the router. Joe worked with Oliver and Jim Cunningham, and they took that router down, and then after that seemed to fix the problems.
Yeah,
I was really
think it
worried
was
because
that. It
people were
was something
saying,
else.
yeah, because people were saying they were getting stuttering, and I'm like, oh, we're all using, because I thought I saw some questions in the chat. We were all using Frankenslot wireless controllers, which I thought was really cool. I could bring my controller from home, and I didn't have to
Yeah,
spend any more
Those
money
are
on
the
an
best.
analog controller. Not that
just
they're bad or anything. It was just the eco waves. But I think
go with.
for next year, my suggestion would be that we all plug in, so that way people who are doing anything live and have wireless cameras or internet, it will not affect us whatsoever.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think wired is the way to go for that issue, because a lot of I know a lot of you tech guys out there say that Wi-Fi is on a higher channel of 2 point, but it's just sometimes the Franken slots they just interferes. And when as soon as
Mhm.
I saw that router, I'm like, I'm really sorry. Do we need that router? And someone said, "Oh, that's Jim Cunningham's router." And I'm like, "Oh man, okay. Well, I'm gonna make enemies today, but you have to turn that off." I'm like, "That's the
They
first thing you
will.
got to."
They wanted to run the app.
Yeah.
That's why they had the router, because they were
And
going to use. They wanted to set their brakes and everything on the car while on the fly.
Yeah.
They wanted to dial in the car.
Which you would be able to do if you used wired controllers in the future.
exactly,
And I
exactly.
Yeah.
think that using the app would have been great. It would have helped teams out, adjust brakes, slow the car
I
down if
like
they
it.
needed to a little bit. But
I disagree, but that's my own.
do you use the app, Joe?
I do. We use
That's
the
right.
Connect here,
Okay.
and I think the Connect app. And this is just my opinion. When Oliver had mentioned, "Oh, we want to use it for the braking," I'm like, I get that, um, but there are too many things that have to be adjusted beforehand. I think um, there's too many accidents that could have happened. You can stop the race by just pressing that on the app if you don't take out that widget. So that would have had to been checked beforehand. There's a lot of time that we would have lost had we used that feature personally. And I don't
Sure.
think that I like the system of, like, the driver comes up, he talks to the race coordinator, he says, "Can you please adjust my brakes to X amount, 50%, 56%? Okay, thank you." And then you just go, and that way everything's controlled in one place. You don't have extra wireless signals and worrying about putting it in your pocket and pressing a button by mistake, doing an accidental track call. For me, my personal opinion, in an endurance race, take out as many things that could possibly go wrong,
Yeah.
and,
I
and delay
think
the race.
that could
That's
be
my two
just an
cents.
individual preference if everyone was
Yeah.
willing to learn and understand the system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'll be okay. Because
Coming from
I love
Carrera,
the app.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I would have loved to have it, but in my head, to even if I was organizing that race, I'd be like, no, I don't want to even mess with this, because if it can go wrong, it probably will. And for that, I think that would, again, wireless controllers. You have the adjustments on the controller, and that's what you want. I think as a driver, personally, I would want it right there. I wouldn't want to have to worry about my app and drive. Now
Mhm.
you've got two things you're worrying. Like, I don't.
Well, see, my opinion about the app is your team has the app, not the driver, and so that you can communicate with your driver to make those adjustments. I would not
Great.
let the drivers have the app. I would
Okay.
let the team use the app. That would be my suggestion, is
Hmm.
whoever your pit guy is can make adjustments to you on the fly, because you might end up adjusting your brakes 4 or 5 times as you settle in and get a little
Yeah.
quicker and a little quicker. You're like, man, I just need a little less brake. You could do that, but you're
Because you
right.
tire.
Fair enough.
Eliminating the track call button and the safety car and all that would have to be off of there. You would only be able to adjust your brakes.
Yeah, you'd have to tech the app. That's the only thing, because you can take all those widgets out. That's what's great about Smart Race. You can just take all those widgets
Yeah.
out and have a custom widget thing. But now that's one more step that the race director has to go through. He has to tech and check everyone's Smart Race to make sure that we're all playing on the same field, right? So there's
Sure.
no accidents or anything. Anyways, that's just how my brain
Steve,
works.
Steve Halsman asks, did everyone or anyone like the NSR cars? I mean, I think everybody liked the NSR cars. They're
Mhm.
fast, they perform well, but we all know that the Carrera cars would take that beating a little better. The abuse of a 3-hour endurance race compared to the NSRs. Not
They
that
are.
there's anything wrong
They
with
are
that,
pretty resilient.
but they
Yeah.
are. I mean, they're made for that. That's what they're made for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and from a
But
performance standpoint,
don't. Go ahead.
they would be, well, from a performance standpoint, they would obviously be a little slower. But the other issue you run into is I just think there's such a wide range of inconsistency when it comes to Carrera motors,
Mhm.
and so that
There
that
is.
becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But Steve says I feel like more people would be interested in racing Carrera cars. I think people were excited about running the NSRs. digitally. I mean, NSR was a sponsor of the event, so that helps. And thank you,
Yeah.
Andrea, for doing that.
Yeah.
Professor Motor, Oliver put on a great show, and he from the beginning, his plan was to do NSR cars. So I don't see that changing. I see that
And no magnet.
and no magnet.
And
Yeah.
no magnet.
I don't see Carrera stepping up and saying, "Hey, you want to do this event? No problem. Why don't you use our cars? We'll give you, these and motors and fresh cars." So hats off really to NSR for taking
Right.
the first steps into wanting to be part of a digital race,
Right.
right? And saying, "Hey, no, this is a world that is, there's analog, and analog has its merits, and digital has its merits, and there's not one is better than the other because
Right.
it's completely two different types of racings, just like how there's different classes of racing." But for NSR to say, "Hey, go for it. Let's get our cars out there for digital," because they come with the space. They come with that little hole right there
Yeah.
for the chips.
Right.
So I mean, the fact that
For the new
they're thinking
chassis.
about this, right? And these cars can actually take a beating. I mean, it's proof. It's proof. Our car fell off the table and still ran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I think the the wiring helped us a lot because that bird's nest of wiring that because our body float was off. I don't think that body float was helping us any, but
Well,
it was just so much
at the end
wiring.
of the day, we watched the video. I watched the video where you interviewed Andrea at the regionals.
Yeah.
Marty,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
the two screws, just a little bit. That's that's how I set it up.
Yeah. He took that car and it was fantastic after about 2 minutes. Like it's pretty impressive.
We're all stressing out about this and that and weight and all these things, and Andreas is like, "Yeah, no, these two
You
screws,
don't need that. Yeah.
this and just go.
don't need this.
Everything
Yeah.
I sell you, don't worry about it. Just
Yeah.
go."
Yeah, the first car we had an extra 7 grams of weight in it. 8 grams of weight, what extra? And then that was we didn't go with that. We went with the other one.
Yeah. Jerry asks, Carrera brand chips or MPL Slot Technic. I think it was MPL and Slot Technic.
There was somebody had a Carrera, and what they'd done is they got it at the IR and extended it. They had wired it onto the Carrera chip, and then put it into the hole because the chip wouldn't fit in there.
Right.
But they had it sitting on the pod.
Yeah, which makes it tough. So the nice thing about I really like the Slot Technic chip. I think that it fits really well in those cars. It's nice and small, and I've really not had any issues or problems with it. It was good to know that you guys had the MPL and it wasn't causing issues or problems. So that was good.
Yeah.
The car was
V3. Yeah, it's the V3 that I've heard, because I have heard that some people did say don't go with. And I don't know if there was issues with a previous chip, but it was the latest one with the V3 with all the leads, and it's almost plug and play. You get the motor lead and the guide lead. You just cut it and solder those two ends on and plug it in.
Yeah. Rumor has it, and I think Andrea mentioned it, that NSR is supposed to release a Carrera chip, so that should make it even easier to install.
And NSR Carrera chip.
Yep. An NSR Carrera chip.
You heard it here first, guys.
No, Andrea actually has already mentioned it a couple times on videos that I've seen, so I don't think I'm breaking any news. That's Dave Kennedy's job, not mine.
Yeah.
I don't break news. Sean wants to know if there was any AC in the building. It was called a 20-mile-an-hour wind. There was no AC. But what a beautiful building. That building was gorgeous. Holy cow. And it was new, right? Didn't Phil say it was brand new?
I just felt bad because when we were finally done the race, or when I had finally done my, I think it was the third stint, I'm like, I could really use some water, and there was a beautiful bar right there, a nice stone bar, and I look over and there's no one there, and I'm like, oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were working the bar earlier, and then they bailed.
Yeah.
They bailed.
Okay, it happens.
Yeah. So, but there was a lot of people at the event, which was really cool. A lot of people checking out slot cars for the first time. A lot of people reliving their childhood by going I used to race these when I was a kid. So who knows what kind of impact that has in that area when it comes to slot cars, which is pretty exciting. So
Well, Phil had a
Did
great booth in the corner, right, with
yeah,
the whole Carrera, and people were testing it out, and I thought that was perfect. I don't know, and apologies, I don't know if he's part of the coordinating for the building itself, or he's just holding a booth for his shop. Apologies, but I just thought it was cool that Carrera had their own corner. So I don't. I mean, maybe Armando, do you know? I
He
saw Phil there a moment
volunteers
ago.
there and then was part of the setup as well. He was helping Oliver and
Okay, it was from Oliver.
originating the
Okay,
whole idea of setting up the whole thing.
yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
And
they
then
have another track on site too
right,
Yeah,
in
we
it,
in,
have
in the other
there's
in
another
the other building.
building where we have two tracks, one analog on the first floor and a digital on the second floor.
yeah. There was a bunch of kids playing on the track downstairs that I saw at the main entrance of the museum. And when I walked, I kind of tried to see as much as I could, as fast as I could, and I was
There
running
is a
through with my
track in
camera.
the entrance
Yeah,
that people can use and interact with. But there was another one too on the wall, hanging on the wall with
yeah,
1/32 scale cars.
nice. Yeah,
Nice.
so everybody was having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin says
Armando,
no AC.
Have you tried your NSR?
I think that's a precious card. That's gonna stay in the box and just look
No,
great.
no shelf queens, Armando. No shelf
That's
It's
queens.
right.
We race
it's an
slot
anniversary
cars, brother.
edition.
You
Yeah,
know it.
it's a beauty though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
No shelf
Oh, what?
queens.
What?
You have not seen that?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No,
I
that's
thought I
one that
saw
I
a green
sent
in the
you.
back the way it was. I'm like, is that an
No,
Italian flag?
I have a couple cars that I've not run yet, and they'll probably find the track eventually. But I
Yeah.
usually
If you've parade that.
my rule is if I've got own a slot car, it needs to see the track. So
one day when you're snowed in and you're like, okay, it's time.
that's right. It's time. Ooh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
You see it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you win that?
Yes, he
Was
did.
it
The
yeah.
team
He
won
earned
that.
that.
the team won that? Oh, that's
The
The
okay.
team
team won that, and it was
we
nice
won prizes
of
as
Joe
a
and
team.
Warren to allow me to keep it.
That's
That
cool.
was really nice of you guys. You didn't have to, but hey, I really
It was
appreciate that.
And he's not giving it back, so it's all good.
No,
no. It was literally
no.
the least we can do. It was we didn't even think about it. Warren and I, honestly, I think we connected on such a different level. We were in sync with a lot of things, and even down to that little thing where we both looked at each other. We looked at the card and we're like, Armando, like there's no way. You did
Yeah,
such a great job, and we didn't want you to walk away with nothing, and we wanted to keep in contact. And
Yeah,
it
this is
was
awesome.
honestly our pleasure, and you earned it. You really
Yeah,
earned
you
it.
did.
Thank you. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
It was really nice of you guys.
So what are some of the things that you learned about the 3 hour endurance race, digital racing with a group of people that you've never raced with before, being on a kind of a big stage? What are some of the things you learned?
Teamwork is a
The
thing.
Yeah, fair
Sure.
comment.
Go ahead, guys.
no,
No,
go ahead.
Armando, I'm curious about what Armando learned.
Okay, sure. But I was just going to say that teamwork is very important and communication is key, right?
Mhm.
But another thing is maintaining your car and maintaining your composure all throughout the race and sticking to the strategy. If you get out of that strategy, you're going to lose
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
stay
sure.
focused.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, because Joe
for
came on to me and he said, "This is the strategy. This is what we're doing." I'm like, "Got it. We're good with that." And I kept
I
to
can't
that
believe you
strategy
actually
all
listened to me.
throughout.
Great. Like, I'm like, it's me telling. Don't listen to me. What do I know?
Hey, you guys came
what
up to me and like, "Hey, this is what we're doing." I'm like, "Okay, we're doing it."
No,
And
yeah,
here
no,
we
it's
are.
fantastic.
what I learned was again, all the people in the community are just fantastic and amazing, and it was all the competitors. Even though we were competitors, everybody was willing to uh, banter or share or if I heard I can't tell you how many times like especially John, if somebody needed something, like I heard they needed their car when they were having the issue with their chip. I said, look, I got the backup car here if you guys want another car, because they had a chip issue with the IR sensor. So I offered them a car. They had another car. They needed something. Somebody gave it to them, and I think if we'd needed anything, they would have done the same. We were all on the help there to help each other, be a part of the community, make the event a success. And it was a success.
It was.
The guys put in so much work, and can't thank them enough. And then just being a team, communication, as Armando said, and then that was it. I if they do it again, I'll be there. And I gained a new appreciation for the 24 guys. Like, I know it's hard. Everybody knows it's hard, but having never done an endurance race, to realize, wow, that when they do those stints and they're doing it 24 hours and the amount their cars hold it together, like that says a lot for the engineering and the Slottits and the NSRs and the scale autos, that when those guys run those cars 24 hours, that's just fantastic. So that was what my takeaway from it. In the interview, I told you why I didn't do the regionals last year, because I was too nervous. Didn't have it, but now I feel more confident, and I think I could do it. I will join up this year. That means I'll be racing against you, though, Marty. Joe might come.
Joe might come. Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Jen, am I allowed to go? No.
Look for the comments. It's coming down here.
Bring Jen. She beats you every Monday. She'll compete.
Yeah,
that was one thing, Marty. I got to say before I get into what I learned. So I finished, and I think what I'm going to what I'm going to say. It was so funny because I got out, we won. I'm watching the time. I'm doing the pit. I'm helping everyone out. I'm cleaning everyone's tires. Time is coming down. I don't know what's going on. We finish. I'm like, oh my God, we won. And I'm like, on that high. Okay, great. This is, what a great experience and everything. I go see Marty. I'm like, give my butt a high five and whatnot. And you're like, dude, and you're giving me this great speech. And you're like, yeah, man, congratulations. You drove out here and this is great. And I'm like, yeah, man, I can't believe it. Marty's, we're having this. And right at the end, you're like, yeah, and now you've got that clout for Jen when you go home. Like, you got something on your, and I'm like, really? All that speech, that pep talk, just for me, because you're worried about Jen beating me all the time. Is this my persona now? Like, that's it. I'm known in the community for the guy who loses always to his wife. Okay, and I accepted it. I'm like, all right, if Marty, that's fine.
I kind of set you up on that, dude, with the little rah speech.
And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks. Oh, right. This is all for Jen. Yeah, I get it. It was great. No, it was great. Great times, man. Honestly.
So what did you learn? What's your takeaway?
So really two things. One, for endurance, I was wearing the wrong shoes. You guys might not realize that, but if you're going to do an endurance, please wear comfortable clothes. Snacks are important.
Snacks are important. Is that what you said?
No, I said that's important. Wearing the right shoes.
Yeah, no, my I sweltered up actually after the race. I didn't realize how. I guess because of the heat and standing there on that platform, it's important. You're in an endurance; you have to hydrate, honestly. And there's these little things that you don't think of, right, or you wouldn't think of normally. So you have to really adapt to the weather and the condition that you're driving in. That's more of a technical thing. And then, honestly, I think because of the speed, learning. Really appreciating more, obviously everything Warren said and Armando about the community, right? That's just that can never be said enough. Such great people. But if we're gonna get to the technical part of it, for what I really learned, what I can really take away is that tuning these cars makes a lot more sense now. That rabbit hole of gearing makes a lot more sense now. And I think the one thing we didn't do to that car, which I was surprised we didn't even think of, is that car might have been actually a little faster, and we would have been probably closed the gap a little bit, because we were talking about gearing and this and that. We didn't break in that motor. I think that's very important. I don't know if people in endurance races break in their motors or not, but so there's all these now these theories are popping in. So it was fun to see the technical aspect of this hobby, take it out of the home where you're more laxed and still having fun and whatnot. But now to really be like, oh no, let's take people's knowledge. Let's take what we're learning. I had Nico also on my shoulder, listening to his techniques of the stories he was telling me of his 24-hour races and things that would transpire. That was going through my head, and I was sharing those stories with Warren, and he shared those stories with Warren, and we were just putting those into practice. So I really, the overall experience, what I took away was really, these cars are a lot more fun. I don't mean it that way. They're not a lot more fun. There's definitely different avenues and different ways of experiencing and enjoying these plastic cars that run on track. And I really got to experience that this weekend. And that's the one thing I'm going to take away from it 100%, is seeing what these cars can actually do and being able to compete with strangers who then become friends.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. One of my takeaways from the weekend, I learned a lot from coverage standpoint. I was going through and looking at some of the questions, and Greg at Clearwater, he says it was fun to watch once he figured out who was in what car, and the not being able to bring some form of the leaderboard onto the screen became a real problem. I was having to go look at the computer and give I had a wireless mic, so I was able to walk through what places people were in and what lap counts were, because I wasn't able to superimpose and so, that's one of those things that I came prepared to try to do that. But when I threw the camera at it, there was so much glare that you just couldn't see it. And so those are some of the things that, working with Oliver, we'll work through the next time. But being able to see that leaderboard, then you would know, who was what car, and that would have helped, from a spectator point of view. Let's see.
But I mean, I watched back that video, Marty. You did such a fantastic job, and to drive 5 hours to just, I mean, Marty will tell you, I think I bugged him from the second he said, "Hey, I'm going to be there," to the second he left, to be like, "Can you be on our team? Can you be on our team?" And he's like, "No, I can't. I really can't." I'm like,
it would have been tough.
That was once we knew Massimo wasn't coming.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Don't tell him that I was asking before.
Yeah, well,
you don't want Massimo to think that you were
but
trying
that's
to
all right.
replace
Armando
him.
was the guy. Armando was the
guy.
He was the guy. And
I just want to add one last thing. That
go ahead, Armando.
At the end of the day, having fun throughout the whole thing is very important, and that was really great. It's just have fun, and you have a good time.
Yeah.
Whether you win or not, it's just a great time with all the guys, setting it up, having the race.
Yeah,
it was great.
I made a bunch of new friends, over the weekend.
Yeah, same here. Look where I am. Here I am with Joe, Marty, and Warren, and a whole bunch of spectators. Hi, guys.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and
I'm
I
still
just
trying to put. Good. I'm still trying to put faces to the names of with the guys all adding me on Facebook. It's like, oh Vince, oh okay,
yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I mean, I got to meet some guys that have been in the chat for a long time that I've never had a chance to meet in person. That was fantastic for me. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. And so that was one of my favorite things about the weekend, was getting to meet you guys. I mean, Warren and I have met, but I'd never met Armando. Joe and I have talked a ton over the last year. Never had a chance to meet face to face. So for me, that was great. I got to meet a bunch of guys. And I've had the same experience at other races that I've gone to. It's usually just a room full of great guys who just want to have a lot of fun. And, they might get serious about the racing, but like Warren said, if somebody had a problem, there's always somebody who's willing to help you fix the problem. And that's pretty cool to see.
That's it. And being able to see that for the guys who cannot, and that was just the point I was trying to make before. I didn't mean to go off on my usual tangents, but the fact that you dedicated and took the time to drive out and do that live. So Jen and just members of my family were texting me, and they're taking screenshots saying, "We see you." I'm like, "Yeah, hi mom, it's all good."
It's cool.
That's a memory that I would have never been able to have if you didn't provide that for us.
So, yeah, I'm glad I was able to do it. At first, when Oliver asked me, I wasn't sure if I could make that weekend happen, because I had another commitment, and I was able to move that and free myself for that weekend, because I thought it was important. And the guys from the Michigan 24 have asked me to come up and help, and I wasn't I wanted to do that, but I wasn't able to make that happen. I just conflicts and just a busy schedule. I say yes to way too many things. And so, hopefully I get to do more of that. if people thought that the commentary was good, and like I have to give Ian and Doug, the magnetic racing guys, some credit, and Mark from Electric Dreams when they cover races, and Jim Rose when he covers live streams for for Motown. Like it wasn't difficult, but when you're trying to fill 3 hours of time, it was tough. Felt like I was repeating a lot of things, and but then when I went back and watched, I was like, yeah, actually, I filled it okay, and I'll learn and I'll get better each time. But it's difficult. But it helped when like Warren jumped on and Jim Cunningham jumped on and Joe kept saying no to jumping on.
I did, you got Warren on our team. I honestly, there was so much going on. I'm like, I am not.
And
I want to marshal. I want to hang out. I didn't mean because I didn't want to come on.
dude, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made for a fun day. Jerry asks if they used one power supply the whole time. I don't think they had a power supply issue, but they didn't use a stock Carrera power supply. They used a Professor Motor power supply.
Yeah, and I can attest to Jim Cunningham's switch box that we were using, his OmniSol box, really just performed beautifully because we had some issues with shorting on the track. Even at the end with our car that lost the braid, it was shorting. And I was really impressed how people narrowed it down really quick, which car was causing the problems. And I was like, okay, that was one thing I was very surprised at. I'm like, how do you guys know it's that car? Like, or we have to stop and they're like, no, it's this one. Okay. And sure enough, so his equipment, I got to see it firsthand, work properly. Fuses popping, everything was great. We didn't lose anything. But there's one thing that I think Oliver has started, and I'm seeing it on our end, and Warren and I are talking. There's a lot more interest now. People are wanting to be part of next year's race. And I mean, I can't speak for anything because it's not my race. I don't know how Oliver is going to do it. I know it's an invitation. But I think this thing will grow. And, even Raul, when I ended up going to his place, he was like, hey, man, because I told him, I said, yeah, Marty wished he had another camera or whatever. We were talking. And he goes, why don't you just call me? He goes, next time, he goes, fine, next year I'm going to come. And I think he would love to co-host it with you.
Yeah.
So we've got guys who are loving, because, Raul is definitely a digital, he's pro digital for sure. Yeah. So especially him with his mini races and his mini grid business now. I think this will grow, and if you're gonna, hopefully you'll race too. But if you're gonna moderate and have other live streamers with you, I think we're gonna have a really good backing here. Even just tonight, I don't see who couldn't make it out. Hats off to Oliver. That's the point.
Yeah,
there's definitely there's definitely
Oliver did a great job, but I also want to say that I want to give a shout out to Phil. He put in a lot of hours in planning.
I know he did.
Also, putting a lot of effort. And putting it all together too, not just planning, but putting the tracks together, talking to the folks at Gilmore. It was just a lot of effort in his part too, and talking to Oliver and partnering with Oliver at Gilmore. So shout out to my man, Phil.
Yeah, Phil did an awesome job. It was obvious that he had done a lot of work, ahead of the event, because from that standpoint, it ran smooth as butter. We got in, we got to set up. The building was beautiful, and we displaced a Ferrari. We had to move the Ferrari out of the building so that we could put the track in, right? And
having that amazing. GT in the middle, it was just great building. That building was spanking new. Oh
yeah, beautiful
place.
But yeah, big shout out to Phil. Patrick wanted to know what the controllers were. They were using Frankenslot wireless controllers. John Albright wanted to know one set of tires for the entire race. Or did you have an option for a second set?
We had to finish still with we had a minimum clearance for the car. So if they said in the rules, it said if you didn't pass the scrutineering at the end, you would have had to have done a tire change, and then would have been a 15-lap penalty.
Oh,
for that. So yeah,
and that would have put you guys down to third.
What? Huh?
That would have put you guys down to third.
One set of tires. Yeah, we made it on one set of tires.
That's cool. Does Scale Auto and Carrera hook up the same way? And were there transition pieces? There are transition pieces to connect both Carrera and the Scale Auto together. Different grip levels between Carrera and Scale Auto, for sure.
And the scale auto is just a couple millimeters wider,
Yeah.
so it's got a little bit of a flair to it, but
Yep.
much more tacky. There's definitely the tech the tactility of it. It's definitely stickier. It's like polycarts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely
Yeah.
got some grip.
Yeah.
Not good for us silicone guys.
Yeah. Rerun
No.
says
That
there
was a
was,
big one. That was a big thing for Joe. He had to depart from his silicons,
My comfort zone, yeah, 100%.
his comfort zone. It was a
you,
new thing for him. He came outside. He did something different.
he settled in. He did fine.
Yeah.
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 It's
Uh,
we go to silicone because the other tires are just easy to master. That's what Marty will attest to that. It's all good.
Yep.
That's why we run silicone.
So rerun says it was their first time racing 132nd NSRs. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. See, there's a lot of
Yeah.
firsts for a lot of the guys in that race, which made it a
Yeah.
lot of fun, I think. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, even
hey, Steve, 87 watching, 40 likes. That's awesome. And roast coffee. Yeah, can't forget about roast.
Yeah.
The outside lane is not the place to be when two or more cars enter the corner. Yes, there's lots of footage of that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it was.
I don't see. I'm just looking for questions. It was a non-magnet race, John. There were NSR cars, no magnets. I think they were the zero graining rubber tires from NSR, because it looks a lot like a foam tire almost, the way it wears. But I think it was the new zero graining, which was interesting.
Warren, what kind of front tires did we have again?
We had regular tires. We did not have zero grips. I think I said foam earlier, but it was these were what they handed out.
Yeah.
The 19
19
ultimate
millimeter.
19 by 12 extreme race tire.
There you go.
So,
Kirby,
and they're really true.
was there a driver minimum drive time like they do in IMSA or WEC racing? So Kirby, how they handled that, it was each driver got a 20-minute stint, and then they would track call, and at the end of 20 laps, each 20-minute segments, and so that over an hour, all three drivers had equal race time. So that's what they were going for. So that's how that worked. Hobbit says, sounds like a great time. It was. Good night.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Let's see.
The
good to see
pumpkin
you,
good
Tony.
night was later because we went to Johnny Hobbies, so we turned into pumpkins.
That was something. We didn't stop racing till like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
That's funny.
we carried on racing after the race.
Well, not that I didn't want to stop by Johnny Hobbies and meet him. I'm glad I headed home, because that's about what time I got home.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Jerry says that they had a Daytona 500 race. 500 laps is a long run. Yep, it is a long run.
Yeah, no, it was. I was surprised when Warren said it. Now we're like, oh, how many laps did we do? 600. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of laps. It's for over 3 hours.
A lot of laps.
Yeah, Jerry said that he would rather use wired. That they have the Franken slot. Yeah, you just have to deal with like we said, interference that a lot of people were struggling with. George is in the house.
Hey, George.
Hey, George.
Patrick is in the house. Hey, Patrick. Patrick released Fast Laps last week, so check that out. I'm working on a video update for that. That should be good. Thomas Sanders. Hey, Tom. Hello, guys. In the lower left corner in a retail store, or are we seeing his personal garage?
Retail store. Lighttechslots.ca.
Yep. Lighttechslots.ca. Yep. Tom, it's a store. Yeah, Kirby got him. Let's see if there's anything else. If I missed any. Yeah. Steve Sweeney, question. Controller finger fatigue. Did anybody run into that? Somebody was giving Joe a hard time about how he holds his controller. But a 20-minute stint is a long stint. Did anybody have problems with their hands going numb or fingers?
No.
No,
It was
Armando,
it
you're
was
pretty
just really
comfortable.
my feet. It was just really
What's
my feet. But
comfortable?
you don't have finger fatigue when you're using your thumb.
That's right.
I'd like to share my technique with everyone,
That's
which
right.
I
Oh,
learned
that's
from Nico.
interesting.
Yeah,
And
Big Oak
anyone
was
who's
the one
running
calling you out
Carrera,
on it.
you're used to your thumb. There's less muscle here. Let's get technical. There's less muscle from your thumb knuckle to your tip thumb. That's a technical term, versus your actual index finger. So this will actually save you energy in the long run, and it just
What do you
feels really
what do you,
comfortable. And if you have a controller with any knobs on the side, you can easily get to them. And switching lanes is a breeze. Just saying, just saying. Pink shirts also help. I mean,
That's interesting.
know,
Yeah, there were some guys giving you a hard time about your pink shirt during the
Oh
stream.
yeah, yeah. We went by accident. We landed up. We looked like a gender reveal. I was wearing like a light dove blue, and he had his salmon on. I think when we went to the grocery store to go get breakfast, we went and got like, okay, I'm gonna tell everybody we got parfaits. We're being healthy, so we got yogurt,
yeah,
and
we're eating our yogurt. So we're like,
yeah,
look like,
I think people thought we were a couple.
I noticed you were eating an apple too in the middle of the race. I'm like, oh, interesting.
He had
It
it in
was
his
hot.
pocket. His
Oh,
apple
you had it
was
in
in
your
his pocket.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had
pulling
to.
things out of your
I had
pocket.
to.
He
Every
yelled at
time there's a
me.
track call,
He yelled at me for having Warren on interview. He's like, "Give me my partner back." He took a big bite of his apple and stuck it back in his pocket.
that's just how I
That's
roll. I
funny.
don't know.
Chris
comes
says
natural.
Jen made you faster and a better driver, right there.
She does,
So-
and
She's
she
a
did.
good driver.
So
She is.
She's a good
so
driver.
she's responsible for the win. Is what we're getting at.
You know, at this point, I'm not going to fight it. Yes, my wife,
Yeah, she
everything
taught
that I've
Joe-
done, any accomplishments I've made, has all to do with Jen, babe. I love you. Thank you so much for giving me the basement and all
That's
this
right.
hobby. And I'm not going to fight anymore. She's the best. And hopefully she
she's a
can be
good
there
girl.
next year racing against me because she does want to
She
be on my
helped
team.
you- She helped you bring your game up because of the level of competition she brings.
Yeah, we like Jen, and we
made you
just
work that
enjoy
much
that
harder.
banner.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. Greg
Poor
from
Joe.
Bud Slots, Velocity Slots says, as you do these races more, you'll go down a never-ending rabbit hole of setups and ideas through the years. He's right.
I hope
I've gotten
so.
to experience.
I hope so.
I've gotten to experience
Absolutely.
that with Greg. Greg comes with a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. I was looking. There was another question. I missed it. Hopefully,
yeah. George is like, that's a Canadian thing with the controller. Well, I got it from an Austrian guy. So.
I think, and we're almost. Jan, thanks. Jan, I appreciate that. I'm having as much fun with the live streams announcing that I am racing. That Jim, I would say I did too. I really enjoyed the challenge of covering the race and talking about my issue that I felt like I ran into was I didn't know enough of the drivers to be able to talk about them. So I could talk about Joe and I could talk about Warren. I could talk about Jim Cunningham. I could talk about a couple other guys that I knew there, but outside of that, it'd have been nice to be able to get to meet everyone. And so then I would have had something, to share about all of the drivers and all the teams and had like the list of teams and who was on them. So I could say, okay, on the track now for, Team Maple Syrup is, Joe, and then do that for all the teams. And so when I cover the next race, I'll try to do a little more homework. Oliver and I had talked beforehand, and I said, hey, could I get a list of teams and drivers? And he said, yeah, I'll work on that. But I think there was so much going on at the beginning that those are the things that we missed. And so I plan on next time doing a better job of that, just so that the coverage can be even better. I want to make that better the next time too, just like everybody wants to go faster and get more laps and be more competitive. For the coverage, I want to bring my game up too. So
Yeah. John was programming the smart race and putting everybody's names in, and and Oliver called us right before dinner. We were on before we met you, to find out what Joe's last name was, because you'd sent me a text, but I'd been driving the whole time, so I never got the text, right? So that John could plug it in. Those guys worked till late. I know, setting the track up on that Friday night. So
Yeah.
you got to thank those guys too.
So Patrick has said that after watching the race and thinking about ideas for his software, he is looking at potentially adding a round robin feature so that you could actually have more teams participate in the endurance race. So there's your potential for growth, Joe.
Nice.
Is if Fast Laps could handle that. I know that they were thinking about using Fast Laps for the weekend and ended up landing on Smart Race. But yeah, as we move forward, there'll be some things to test. So Patrick,
Yeah,
you can count on me to test that for you, Patrick. Just let me know. Who else? What else we have? I think young Sasha drove the last stint, taking the winning team over the finish line. John D. Patrick says, great idea. And they could possibly use each heat to change drivers. Yeah, if you did it as like a round robin type. Yep.
Yeah.
Clearance checked at the finish. That's why you start with taller tires. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearance was checked at the finish because he put
Yeah.
a question mark.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Phil says, as we look forward to next year, we'd like to use all one brand of track. If Scale Auto has lane changers, we will likely run Scale Auto. Yeah, good to know, Phil.
I think that was the reason why we use Carrera switches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've
the
not
Scale
released
Auto.
wanted the tires to run down.
Yeah. Scale Auto are coming out with their lane changes are out. I just don't think they're in North America yet, but they're probably on their way. With this tariff stuff, they're probably holding them offshore somewhere, and just hold in it. They're probably in a holding pattern because they were working on them last year, and I think they did release some in Europe already. So they're probably on their way.
Jim is trying to get John Albright to do a race at the Cobra Museum in Martinez. Like they did here. That would be cool. Greg says, are you guys already wanting or planning new ideas for the next digital race for these cars? I'm guessing Oliver is, trying to think about how to improve the race. Hopefully they still do it at the Gilmore, because I thought that was a great venue, and having a lot of other people outside of the hobby, it was just great, great promotion for the hobby in general.
I think Oliver had mentioned something about maybe changing the. I mean, we were just talking and shooting the breeze a bit afterwards, and he was saying something about the timing and saying, oh, maybe we'll do it in winter or later fall. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, please don't do it in winter. The drive, it's just a little bit more, with the storms and whatnot. I thought it was perfect. I honestly thought the timing was great. It's just a little bit past spring. You're right into the start of summer. You start off summer with an endurance race, and the driving conditions are obviously the only thing you really have to worry about is rain. My 2 cents on that was I thought everything that happened perfectly. And I don't know what you guys think. If you guys would find it easier, or people in the chat would find it easier to join these things in the fall or the winter or whatnot. I know some parts of the states winter isn't that big of a deal, but for us Northians, us Canadians with the winter,
Northerners.
Northians,
Slot Car
Northians.
67 wants to know if Warren's going to host an event at his track.
I did try to get the Canadians, but probably next year I'll do the NSR Canadian Nationals.
Nice.
No.
Jen's looking for a team next year, she says.
I told you. Still want to be on my team.
I'm looking through to make sure we didn't miss any questions. I'm about to the end of and there's a bunch of comments. 750 comments at this point.
Wow.
So yeah, it's 9:34. We usually wrap up around 9:30. Did I miss anything? There's something about the event that we didn't talk about.
That was just amazing. Again, thanks to Oliver, Phil, the Gilmore Museum, and everybody that worked tirelessly in the background to organize this thing. And because it didn't just happen overnight. It started months ago, and then they've been working towards that. So, yeah, hope to be there next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do it again.
And we'll try to organize MP's modeling gigs that they coincide with.
We're gonna have to book him now.
That's right.
But again, everything that happened was fantastic. Marty, meeting you, doing the live commentary, Armando stepping in, whatever, Warren asking me to join, being team captain, and learning about these cars, going to the shop and soldering and weights and trying braids, and it was like everything all at once, right? And then actually being at that race, and then just boom, in the zone, click, 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 and then it's over, and you're like,
Yeah.
that didn't just happen. That didn't just happen,
Yeah.
right?
So, yeah. I think everybody had a great experience. Yeah. It was a fun weekend.
Looking forward to doing that again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Armando.
Yeah.
You bet.
Great job, Armando, for
my
jumping
pleasure.
in and helping the guys out. So congratulations on your win. Thanks for joining tonight on the live stream. I really appreciate it. And most important, I appreciate your friendships. It's good to get to know you guys a little better and get to meet everyone. And I'm sure it won't be the last time. We'll make sure that this happens, hopefully again next year in Michigan. And
absolutely,
we'll go from there. But guys, thanks for joining tonight, and I appreciate it. And like I always say, go have fun racing.